Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to City Hall and to the Mayor's 2015 celebration of Women's History Month. I'm Emily Murase, Executive Director of the San Francisco Department on the Status of Women. And our department has been in business in advancing women and girls of San Francisco since 1975. We'll be celebrating our 40th anniversary in October. This year's national theme for Women's History Month is Weaving the Stories of Women's Lives. And there are a few folks that I want to recognize in the audience today. Chief Joanne Hayes-White from the Fire Department. Deborah Raphael, head of the Department of the Environment. Monique Moyer, the Port Director. Supervisor Julie Christensen, thank you so much for joining us today. School board member and senior advisor to the mayor on education issues, Hydra Mendoza. Our assessor recorder, Carmen Chu. And we have Commissioner Amy Ackerman from the Commission on the Status of Women. And we have two board members from the Friends of the Commission on the Status of Women, Marilee Mondejoa, President, and Linda Calhoun. I want to especially thank my staff, Carol Sacco and Iris Wong, who worked very closely with Lonnie Kent of the Mayor's Office to make today's ceremony possible. And Mickey Callahan, head of Department of Human Resources, has just joined us. So as many of you know, in 1998, San Francisco became the first city in the world to enact a local ordinance reflecting the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. It's an international Bill of Rights for women. The U.S. has not yet ratified, but all of the other developed countries have. This landmark ordinance was made possible by the advocacy of a group of San Francisco Bay Area women who attended the 4th UN Conference on Women in Beijing in 1995. Believe it or not, it's been 20 years since the Beijing conference, when then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton proclaimed famously, "Women's rights are human rights are women's rights." And to commemorate the Beijing Platform for Action, San Francisco was asked to be a peer leader to launch the Cities for CEDAW campaign with the enthusiastic support of Mayor Edwin Lee, who has challenged 100 other cities to join San Francisco's lead, just as we'll be hosting the U.S. Conference of Mayors here in San Francisco in June. We are so fortunate to have a mayor that really gets it. And I just want to share a quick story. When he was head of the Department of Public Works, our department partnered with DPW to make it a better workplace for women. One of the things he did was to create a space for women's empowerment group from among DPW employees. To invite women to the first meeting, he sent a personal invitation to their home addresses. And it really made a very big difference in terms of encouraging them to participate, and that group has been flourishing at DPW ever since. His advocacy for gender equality does not stop with city employees. We know that 3 out of 4 women work in the private sector, and in January, Mayor Lee helped launch our 2015 Gender Equality Forum and challenge the private sector to improve gender equality in the workplace. In addition, he has worked with the Board of Supervisors. I see Supervisor Malia Cohen has also joined us to enact the Family-Friendly Workplace Ordinance and the Equal Pay Act. And he's made a tremendous commitment to fighting violence against women. During his tenure, funding for services to women survivors of violence has increased a whopping $1.5 million, or 50%, from $3 million before he became acting mayor to $4.5 million investment by the city. With the mayor's leadership and in partnership with law enforcement, we have members from the command staff at the police department here with us today. San Francisco saw a record 44 months without a single domestic violence homicide, an unparalleled record. Unfortunately, the record was broken in January of last year, so we have more work to do, but we know exactly what we need to do. So with that, please help me welcome one of the strongest advocates on women's issues, Mayor Edwin Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Marase, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the People's Palace. I want to thank our Department of Commission on the Status of Women and the Friends of for their commitment in advancing women's human rights in San Francisco and well beyond our city. I'll begin by saying that we are really at a special time in our city, and at a time where there is prosperity, I want to make sure, and I know all of you do, that we provide special opportunities to ensure everyone succeeds. And to do this, I am very focused on my affordability and shared prosperity agenda, and will continue to make record investments in our public schools and programs that help our families, our youth, and our children. But to begin with, I'd also want to introduce Anita, because she's my boss, and that's why I think I have a strong women's agenda, if there's anything there. But I also have in mind a lot of families who are led by women when I'm suggesting, more than suggesting, when I'm actually trying to implement 30,000 new units of housing in our city, making sure a third of them are permanently affordable. I have women in mind when we are focused on our Project 500 to try to lift 500 families out of poverty, because I think that a great portion of those are going to be women-led families. We need to invest in our public housing, our residents, build stronger communities through our HOPE SF program, and certainly as we are more and more becoming confident, we have the ability to rebuild our housing with the people in them first and having them help rebuild that housing together with us. We'll continue investing in our transportation network, which are great equalizers, as well as our education institutions. We're also very fortunate these days, and you'll read more about it, that we're very fortunate to have generous hearts, and they don't just appear. We encourage very strongly our philanthropists to join together. That's why you already see the names of agencies that we're supporting with Super Bowl 50. As challenging as that event is, the $40 million has already been raised, and we think we can raise yet another amount of money that Daniel Laurie and others are doing as hard as they can. But you've already seen the first batch of it, and we're going to be 25% of all the monies raised will go to poverty programs in San Francisco and the entire Bay Area. And I was excited to see the list already, because we've identified about $2.5 million going to Bay Area youth, to families, to really well-performing agencies in the entire San Francisco and Bay Area. We also are continuing to encourage our business leaders, and we saw yet another example of that recently with our San Francisco General Hospital. And so I look forward to working with all of you to continue building this momentum and making sure that we advance gender equality and women's human rights, not just here in San Francisco, but well beyond that. As I said earlier, gender equality is important to me. It's personal. I grew up, of course, with a very strong mother who happened to have to deal with us 6 kids at a very early age for all of us. And am proud that we've raised 2 daughters who are very strong in their own right. And I know that they will personally appreciate what we're doing in San Francisco as they go off and run their own lives. And right now, just about now, they're in Iran, and they're going to be going to Nepal. So they're pretty strong, helping refugees and helping others deal with their challenges throughout the world. This year, we have signaled that I'll join Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, and we'll convene a Bay Area Women's Empowerment and Opportunity Summit that will seek to improve economic and social opportunities for women in our entire region and city. Thank you. And, you know, I think we are in a very strong position already. I know that we've gone through the many names already of women-led departments, but it's worth repeating because I'm not so sure any other city can brag about the women leadership that we have in San Francisco. From our city administrator to our director of human resources, our fire chief, our emergency management, our public health, our port, our environment, and of course, Department of Status of Women are all led. And of course, that's also reflected in our elected officers, beginning with President London Breed and of course her colleague Malia Cohen, who's here, Supervisor Tang, Supervisor Christensen, Supervisor Kim, and our Session Recorder Carmen Chu. And of course, we have had a history of very strong women in elected roles here in San Francisco. Senator Feinstein, Leader Pelosi, Congresswoman Jackie Speer, Attorney General Kamala Harris, Controller Betty Yee, Board of Equalization Fiona Ma. And these women are going places. They're having to do a lot of important things for the entire country. And of course, I should say with no hesitation, I look forward to working with all of you to place the first female in the President of the United States office. Well, you just look at the women that we're honoring today, and you again see the kind of qualities that have been reflected in our own history and in our own leadership in the city today. Their lives have been dedicated to improving the lives of others, whether it's in education, in housing, health, and many more areas. They are helping my city and our city to be more affordable. They're helping to ensure everyone in this city shares in our prosperity. And whether through philanthropy or working on the ground every day, or in all of the areas that we mentioned, these women are changing lives for the better, and they represent our city's values at its best, a city for everyone. And with that, I'm proud to recognize, first and foremost, Debra Peralta, who is an incredible leader in special education, and her mantra is, "It's all about sharing the joy." And she makes our city and our world a better place for all of our special needs children. Deborah is tireless in her commitment that children with autism must be accepted, treasured, valued, included, and loved. She makes this happen every single day. She's an active member of the Community Advisory Committee to Special Education, and she was recently honored with a PTA Frontier Award. I had the honor of spending time with Deborah recently at Sunnyside Elementary School, and it was an incredibly moving day, and you could see her commitment and devotion when we delivered 18 iPads to students on the autistic spectrum who would otherwise not have access to the school curriculum. In addition to her special education acumen, I've also learned, and I know she has her teammates here, that she's a secret weapon for the Major League Baseball scouts. She's the only team mom in the nation for the college baseball team and has built relationships with Major League Scouts. USF is lucky to have her. Welcome, USF, to City Hall. It's a great privilege of mine to know Deborah. It's a great privilege to our city that Deborah chooses to live in our city. It's women like Deborah that make good things happen. So now, please join me in welcoming Debra Peralta.
Thank you, Mayor Lee, Nancy Krishna Rodriguez, and the Department on the Status of Women. I'm a proud member of the Community Advisory Committee on Special Education. We're a vital component in effective education programs in our schools. We work side by side with the San Francisco Unified School District Education Department. We are a reflection of the community we serve. We are composed of parents, educators, pupils, adults with disabilities, representatives of public and private agencies, persons concerned with the needs of individuals with disabilities. My husband, Dean, and I have two miracle sons, 7 and 9, that have autism. Through the CAC, we have effectively advocated for our sons' needs in the San Francisco Unified School District. They attend the best elementary school with inclusive practices, and we are grateful for the support and never-ending education. Being a part of the CAC gives me the opportunity to help other families in need. You see, I see all children with special needs as mine. I must help. I must be their voice. I'm also the proud team for the University of San Francisco baseball Dons. I treasure the role that I play with prospective players and their families during the recruiting process, to be there before the players hit the field for warm-ups to ensure each player gets a team mom hug. USF has been supportive with my passion of helping children with autism. Together, next summer, we will have a baseball camp for children with autism. I also host an autism awareness game during Autism Awareness Month in April. This year it will be April 12th, USF versus Portland. I have a t-shirt and hat for you, Mayor Lee. For my USF Dons, we hope that you can join us and throw out the first pitch for that game. Last but certainly not least, I need to thank my husband, Dean, for being my rock, my biggest supporter. Without you, I couldn't do the work in the community. You're the best father. You step up and take care of our amazing sons so that I can do my work outside of our home. Because of your faith in me and my passion, I'm at my best. USF has a tagline that says, "Change the world from here." I try to do just that every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next honoree is Dr. Priscilla Chan. And Dr. Chan is currently doing her residency at the University of San Francisco, California at San Francisco in the Department of Pediatrics. She's committed to both philanthropy and community service. She and her husband recently announced their investment in the future of San Francisco General Hospital in the amount of $75 million, ensuring San Francisco has a world-class hospital and a trauma center for years to come. Dr. Chan was unable to tear herself away from the hospital today, and Sue Carlisle from our SF General was here to accept on her behalf. Come on up, Susan.
Thank you, Mayor Lee. It is my honor to be here to represent Dr. Chan, and as you said, she is unable to be here because she is still a resident and she still is on clinical duties, and so was unable to tear herself away. She, however, has shown not only through her work at San Francisco General, but as her former career as an educator, that she is extremely devoted to taking care of underserved populations. and she has shown it even more so with this wonderful donation that you mentioned before. She and Mr. Zuckerberg have absolutely committed themselves, both privately and publicly, to making sure that we maintain our services throughout the city for all of those in need as well as those who are injured. And we thank you very much for this honor and recognizing her gift. Thank you.
Sue, thank you for all that you do as well, and the entire management at SF General. And our final honorees this morning are two women that have set the bar for what can be achieved through collaborative leadership. And I'd say that they aren't afraid to push their peers, the city or their staff, to have better outcomes. They both do this with grace, humor when needed, and an attention to long-term relationships and goals. I'm, of course, referring to Gail Gilman of the Community Housing Partnerships and Sherilyn Adams of Larkin Street Services. Together, they are paving the way for the kind of success we want in housing and social services. An example of their success is their 2014 collaboration on Edward II residence, which resulted in 24 studio rental units of supportive housing for youth aged 18 to 24 at risk of homelessness. Gail and Sherilyn are particularly distinguished in their ongoing and incredible contributions in their broader fields. But they're not just focused on their own professional careers, which are luminary in both cases, or even in their own organizations, which are incredible examples of well-run and always innovative organizations serving the highest needs populations. But on top of all of that, they contribute significantly to the local, regional, and national dialogue about the most effective ways to serve homeless youth, families, and individuals. They are truly collaborative and do not hesitate to share information, create innovative partnerships to provide a better overall service delivery for those that are in need. They are and represent the future of effective leadership. But first, Gail. She has over 16 years of experience in supportive housing field and is the Executive Director of Community Housing Partnerships, which is a partner to the city for many years. She develops and operates high-quality, permanent, affordable housing, integrating optional support services, job training, and community organizing. She strives to break the cycle of homelessness by strengthening communities. I understand she grew up in affordable housing in New York City, and she understood at a very young age what it takes to create a supportive environment so that everyone can succeed. Gail also worked closely with me this past year on a minimum wage ballot measure, which of course received widespread support to the tune of 77% of our voters. Please join me in welcoming Gail Gilman.
First, I'd like to thank Mayor Lee and the Office on the Status of Women for this true honor for me today. I'm the Executive Director of the Community Housing Partnership, the first woman to run the agency in its 25-year history. And I truly believe that women bring a unique approach both to collaborations and to partnerships. Anytime women come together in collective intention, it's powerful. Whether it's creating the first affordable housing in District 2, whether it's pushing to have nonprofits, ourselves, and our peers to be more outcome-driven and impactful, or whether it's seeing the value of community organizing in the work that we do every day. When women come together with collective intention, it's powerful. And without women who have touched me throughout my life and my colleagues, I wouldn't be here today. Thank you again for this honor. Thank you.
And finally, Sherilyn Adams. Sherilyn is the Executive Director of Larkin Street Youth Services, one of our largest nonprofit providers serving the diverse needs of homeless and runaway youth. When she joined Larkin Street, she vowed to double the number of transitional living program beds within 5 years and ended up accomplishing that goal in 3 years. What is most obvious when meeting with Sherilyn is that she never settles for the status quo. She is unquestionably determined to get the better outcome for our most vulnerable residents. She also co-chairs the San Francisco Human Services Network and has received state and national attention for her groundbreaking work. Please join me in welcoming Sherilyn Adams.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Lee and the Commission on the Status of Women and the Department for this recognition. It's truly incredibly humbling to receive an honor like this, and I've been thinking a lot about it, and the work with Gail has been incredibly rewarding, and it was a bit of a challenge to get the housing going, and it's gone reasonably well, and I wouldn't have done it without such the great support of Gail and her team and an incredible support of my board and the staff. And as I was thinking about this work, I started my work in domestic violence counseling and as a sexual assault counselor when I was 22 years old. I probably knew nothing. In fact, I know I knew nothing. And I was mentored in this work by incredible women. I was mentored by women who left domestic relationships that were violent to start the domestic violence movement. I was mentored by women who traversed through incredibly difficult journeys to get where they were, and they embraced me, and they taught me, and they carried me through this work. And it is only because of them that I am here. There are some of you in this audience that are those women to me. There's Carmen and Catherine and Joanne and so many people who have championed women and who supported me in my growth. There is my partner, Elaine, who allows me to go to work every day and provides strength and encouragement and love to myself and to our daughter. And it is just through women and women's dedication to women and to changing the world that brings us all here, and I could not be more grateful or honored to receive this. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as mayor, I'm especially proud that women play such a critical role in transforming our city. Congratulations to our 4 honorees for San Francisco's Women's History Month. And I look forward to working with all 4 of these incredibly remarkable women and all of you today to advance gender equality and equity throughout our city and ensure everyone benefits from our city's success. Thank you for coming. Congratulations.